reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone, never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our third episode in our series here on the topic that you chose, dear brothers and sisters, and that is how to make for a happy family life, a happy life at home that would in turn create a happy and a successful and pious society and ummah at large. We do remind you that you are the ones, our dear brothers and sisters, who are choosing for us the topics here via our Facebook accounts or via our emails, and we do thank you for that. We also do thank you for all your contributions and all your comments and suggestions that have been very useful to us here in the program Family Issues. We are honored to have with us here for this episode two very distinguished guests, Sheikh Asim Luqman Al-Hakim, renowned Islamic da'iyah and a regular presenter and contributor here at Huda TV. Sheikh Asim, Jazakumullahu khairan, thank you for being with us.
Jazakumullahu khair for having me.
And we also have with us for the second consecutive episode on this topic Dr. Mustafa Khattab, Imam at Alberta, Canada, and Professor of Islamic Studies at Al-Azhar University. Dr. Khattab, thank you for joining us again and for accepting our invitation to continue that topic. Jazakumullahu khairan, Dr. Khattab. We do remind you, dear brothers and sisters, that we'll be ready to receive your phone calls here live in the program. Our numbers will be appearing on the screen. We also want to receive your continuous contributions via our Facebook account, which will also appear on the screen, and also via our email, because again, it's you, first of all, that choose the topic and also make the biggest contributions for us here. Sheikh Asim, when we talk about a happy family life, what is the first advice you want to give to the father, the mother, and the adult children, if you will, and even the small ones?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa muhtada bihudahu, amma ba'du. You leave me no room to focus and zoom on a specific topic, because you're asking me something that requires like a workshop, and I did, alhamdulillah, with the grace of Allah, a workshop in India like a year and a half ago on how to have a happy marriage. However, to put it in a nutshell, and I believe this is coming out of experience, because I do a lot of marriage counseling with the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal, and I see a lot of problems. The biggest problem that houses have is that the people inside that house do not know their rights nor their obligations. The majority of Muslims know their rights, so I always demand, I need this from you, and I need this from my father, and I need this from my mother, and I need this from my spouse, from my wife, from the children. Okay, what are my obligations? I don't know. I could care less. This is where the problems come and arise from our ignorance of our obligations towards others, and among the things that you can add to that, and you may call them spices, the compassion, the love, the extras, not the obligations. There are things that do's and don'ts. Now, I'm not talking about this. These constitute the biggest problem in a house, when a man does not know what his wife's rights are, and that is why he fails to deliver them to her, and when a woman does not know or recognize or seems to neglect her husband's rights, and she ignores them and she does not fulfill them, then you have the problems.
Right. Dr. Khattab, we talked in the previous episode and the very first one about some advices when it comes to making for a happy life, a happy family life, a happy life at home. Please brief us on what we talked about in the second episode where you were with us. And allow me to tell you that in the first episode we had talked here in the program about the fact that you cannot have a happy family life if you're not happy yourself.
Yes.
And to be happy you have to first of all be a true Muslim, and you have to, when you say Alhamdulillah, you have to really feel it. And not just say it, because if you say it and feel it, you will be happy, and if both the husband and wife are good pious people who do thank Allah for His countless ni'am, then everything else will be on the right path.
Yes. Of course, the first point we spoke about was when you choose someone to marry, this person has to be a practicing Muslim. And this will save you a lot of fights and a lot of problems through the marriage. As we said, you don't have to talk about hijab being an obligation in Islam. You don't have to talk about the fact that your wife or your husband has to pray. This is completely out of the question. And of course, as the Sheikh says, if you know Islam, you know the basics of Islam. And I'm not saying you have to have a PhD in Islamic studies, or you have to be Kabir al-Hujjaj or a big shot Imam. No, you have to know the basics of Islam. How to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how to know how to worship Him and serve Him, to know the Prophet ﷺ and how to follow his sunnah, and also to know the halal and the haram. So that's all that is needed from you. Of course, we spoke about the concept of mawadda and rahmah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Ar-Rum, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And we said last time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically is telling us if there is mawadda and rahmah, kindness and respect and love in the relationship, there's a guarantee from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the marriage will succeed. But if there is no mawadda and rahmah in the relationship, no guarantees. And I said that the best way to achieve this is to for the husband to treat his wife the same way he likes his sister to be treated by her husband, and for the wife to treat her husband the same way that she likes her brother to be treated by his wife. This is the easiest way. You have to be fair. So the concept of mawadda and rahmah.
Right. The concept of mawadda and rahmah, Shaykh, I mean, you hear a lot of wives telling their husbands, where is the mawadda, where is the rahmah? And maybe in fewer cases you'd hear the husband telling his wife about that. What is the exact definition and the real concept of mawadda and rahmah?
See, not all marriages are based on love. And this is one of the great misconceptions that Muslims have due to the effect of media. I remember I was driving home once and a man came behind me, flashing his highlights, high beams and honking me. And I was in the mood to fight. So I parked the car and went out of the car, ready to do some MMA or whatever. And the guy says, Salam alaikum Sheikh Asim. And immediately he turned me off. So, alaikum salam. And then I took my Sheikh role again and assumed it. He said, Sheikh, I have a problem. So what's your problem? He said, I've been married for 2 years. And my wife is beautiful. She's extremely religious. And she is a good housewife. But I don't have this gut feeling of love to her. And I feel I want to divorce her. So what's your advice? So I said to this brother, he was young in his mid-20s. I said, do you have a satellite channel receiver that shows satellite channels, which in Arabia it's 100% corrupt, un-Islamic? All dancing, video clips, music, movies, soap operas, un-Islamic completely. And the man looked down and said, yes, I do. And I say, you spend like 4 hours, 5 hours watching it? And he said, yes, I do. I said, you should stand in front of a firing squad because you do not fear Allah. Allah has blessed you with a wife with these features that any man would want. And you want to kick Allah's favors and blessings away from you to pursue these images that you see on TV which do not relate to reality. All what you see is pictures, but if you smell you will find the stinkiness out of them. So you should fear Allah. He said, what about this feeling of love? This is only found in novels, in soap operas, in love stories. The true love is what reflects in the house, in the sense that a man is trusting his wife and his wife trusts him. He's honest and she is honest. They have the compassion, they have the mercy. When she falls sick, he doesn't stand and laugh and say, ha ha, it's your turn now to burn. No, he has this love and compassion to her. Not the love that when I don't see her for a couple of nights, I get sleepless nights and I have to write a poem and then put it in a leg of a pigeon and send it and start daydreaming. This is only in novels. So the compassion and the mercy that we lack is what Allah Azza wa Jal promoted in the Quran for us to have. And a man came to Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, and said, I want to divorce my wife. He said, why? He said, because I don't love her. He said, I'm about to hit you with my famous stick. Are all houses based on love? No, they're not. They're based on appreciation, on compassion, on mercy, on knowing the rights of your spouse and what they had done and sacrificed for your sake. And that is why, and I hope I'm not taking the time out, that is why when the Prophet ﷺ heard his sister-in-law, Hala bint Khuwaylid, the sister of Khadija bint Khuwaylid, and he was at the house of Aisha, which means that this was like 5, 6, 7 years after her death. When the Prophet heard her name asking permission to enter, he said, Hala, as if he was waiting for something. And then he gave her permission to enter, and he sat with her and he listened to her problems, and he did what she wanted, and she left. Aisha felt jealous. Now, talking about Aisha, she is like 15, 16 years of age. And she knows that she is not the spoiled love of the Prophet ﷺ, but she knows that she is the love of the Prophet ﷺ, and he loves no other wife like her. So she, out of jealousy, said to him, why do you always remember this old woman who her teeth fell and her mouth is pink and red because it has no teeth? And Allah Azza wa Jal has taken her and substituted you with someone who is better than her. She's referring to her as a virgin. And she is the only virgin wife of the Prophet ﷺ. And if he was a womanizer, he would have taken so many virgins. But this shows you that the Prophet ﷺ did not marry out of lust, but rather, this is a different topic.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
When the Prophet ﷺ heard this from her, he said, by Allah, he did not substitute me better than her. She believed me when all the people said that you're lying. She gave me her money when everyone prevented me from their wealth. And Allah granted me children from her when He deprived these children from all of you. By Allah, He did not substitute me better than her. This is the love. This is the compassion. This is the mercy that the Prophet ﷺ tested.
Beautiful story there, Sheikh. Also, Dr. Khattab, back to the mawadda and rahmah, the compassion and mercy, because it is the one thing that all of us Muslims, males and females, look to and want to know, again, the big frame that encompasses compassion and mercy, mawadda and rahmah.
Yes, the next point I wanted to cover is the concept of sharing in marriage. Because as we said last time, some people, some husbands, they treat the house as a hotel. It's a place where they go, they get some services, then they run to the streets. And some ladies also, they look for their husbands like, he's the money man, okay? He pays us money, he provides for us, he is the provider, so we love him for this. If he gets laid off or he loses his job, we don't love him anymore. So there has to be sharing in the relationship. Some men, especially in some cultures, and I'm not going to mention any names, they treat their wives like their servants. They're not their equal. So I heard this saying in the village where I came from, in the Delta, that people say, if you treat your wife like a princess, she will treat you like a king. But if you treat her like a servant, she will treat you as a slave. So whatever you give, this is what you take. So there has to be sharing in the relationship. You have to know your rights, your responsibilities, and everybody shares. There was this story that this man comes to his wife and he says, it seems that the only verb you have in your dictionary is the word give. Give us this, give us money, give us that, give us this. You never say the word take. You always say give, but you never say take. She says, well, the fridge is broken, take it and fix it. Take.
Yeah, indeed. Again, what about the role of the kids here? The kids also get involved, especially when they start growing up. They get involved in policy making. They get involved in everything in the house. And many fights occur between husbands and wives because they have maybe different views as to what is best for their children. What is the advice here, Sheikh? I mean, how do we tackle such an issue?
Well, first of all, it is essential that these fights do not ever take place in front of the children, whether young or old. One major aspect of happiness in the house is that the parents do not argue in front of the children. I've seen myself cases and incidents where the father and the mother, they fight vigorously and viciously in front of the youngsters who grow up in such an environment only to become like their role model, the father and the mother. So the children do not have usually a say in what goes on in the house because they are subordinates. They are followers of the instruction of the parents. And this is why Allah Azza wa Jal had made this clear, that the children must give all their allegiance and obedience and to be respectful no matter what to their parents. And if they don't, then this is a major sin. Actually, it is one of the three major sins that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned to us. So to the extent that saying, oof, go and get the things from the car, oof, or why me, not Muhammad? Every time you're picking on me, why do you always tell me to do this and that? This is a major sin. To look at your parents in a harsh way, just the look, when they tell you something, they know what this look includes. So this look by itself is a sin. So the children don't have a say, but they can advise. And it's always what the parents say that must go on. Now the problem is when they conflict, when the mother and the father have different opinions. Most likely it is the father's word that should be implemented, because he's the captain of the ship. If we have two captains, one says north and the other says south, the ship is inevitably going to sink. So yes, the father, which is the husband, has to have room, not for democracy, because we know democracy goes against Islam, but he has to have room for shura, for asking and checking and doing his homework and then coming with the conclusion, with the decision that he hopes that pleases Allah Azza wa Jal. But the children can only advise, can only ask, and can only soften the situation when it is heated. Argument between the parents. They should not take sides, because this is wrong. You will lose one on the account of the other. Try to be diplomatic, try to say yes, you're right and she is right. And that is why Imam Malik ibn Anas, may Allah have mercy on his soul, the Imam of Medina,
yes.
A man came to him and said, my father tells me to do something and my mother tells me not to do it. What to do? He said, obey your father and do not disobey your mother. What is this? He cannot tell him this or that. So you have to play it safe and try to be diplomatic as much as possible.
All right. Dr. Khattab, same question, because it is the reason behind many fights in many homes. You know, having different views in what concerns the children. So an advice from you on that point as well.
Okay, this is a very big problem that we have in our homes, that people don't know the etiquettes or the adab of fights, the adab of disagreeing with someone, adab al-ikhtilaf. So my biggest problem with this issue is some of the parents, not only do they fight in front of their kids, but they also try to win their kids to their side. To the point of trying to bribe some of them by buying them gifts, taking them to places, candy and all that stuff, and backbiting the other side. And this happens sometimes. You know, your mother is not making the right decision. I'm the guy, I provide for you guys, I bring you food and this and that, so I'm the one. Your mom is wrong, I'm right. So this is not healthy for the family, and as the Sheikh says, when the kids grow up, these are the role models for the kids, and they will follow their example. They will do exactly the same thing. They absorb like a sponge, and when they get older and they get married, they just copy their parents, and they will have a miserable life just like their parents.
All right. Allows Sheikh Asim and Dr. Mustafa to take a break here. Dear brothers and sisters, we are waiting for your contributions via our Facebook account or our email, and also via our phone numbers, all appearing on the screen live here. It's time for a break. Please do stay with Huda TV. We'll be back shortly, inshaAllah. Assalamu alaikum.
Never alone, you are never alone.
I really like the example he gives in that clip about the guy stuck in traffic. You know, he thinks that it's just, it takes it personal, which you know, brings us to the point that a pessimist is very subjective when it comes to negative things that happens in his life.
But for example, if you are talking to me about doing something good in life, and you are on the bed of death, that you want to do something for your ummah, this is why we did this program, to make you get your achievable goals before you reach the moment that you will not be able to achieve anything.
SubhanAllah, if I may add, if I have a positive attitude, and if I have courage, why it doesn't appear in all the problems that I face? Why it doesn't appear in all what I do in my life? Actually, because you are not responsible enough to control your mindset.
I was reading a study on New York government. They wanted to improve the crime rate. They wanted to lower the crime rate ultimately. And they found that in the subways there was a lot of graffiti, a lot of trash. And just by doing a little thing, like removing the trash and removing the graffiti and making a more clean environment, the crime rate actually lowered. So this shows the power that how little things can really make a big difference.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. We're still discussing the topic you chose, dear brothers and sisters, how to have a happy family life. And we still have with us Sheikh Asim Luqman Al-Hakim, renowned Islamic Da'iyah, and Dr. Mustafa Khattab, the lecturer of Islamic Studies at Al-Azhar University and Imam at Alberta, Canada. Jazakumullahu khairan, Sheikh Asim and Dr. Mustafa, for being with us. Sheikh Asim, as you mentioned at the very beginning, this is a very big topic. It does need a workshop. But we want to stress perhaps on some elements or some points that you think are essential for a happy family life. You know, without them, you will have a miserable family life.
Well, see, the topic is very vast and big, and there's so many small things that we seem to neglect or ignore due to normal life routine. However, if you stop and look at them, you'll find that it adds a lot of value to your marriage and hence to your happiness. Now, we tend to ignore the feelings of our spouses, and I'm talking from a male's perspective. So you find that women by nature are emotional and men are not. And this gap needs to be filled. It's very difficult for men to be emotional in the sense that, but you don't have to cry. You don't have to go down on your knees and give her the ring again. This is past and this is history. But what you can do is to put and inject few things that add a lot of, and that ignite the love again. So if you go to the office, you find that you send 50 emails a day. I sometimes send 100 emails a day. And I'm so engaged in what I do. It would take me exactly 15 seconds to type an SMS saying, I miss you. Or I'm waiting eagerly for 2100 hours when I'll see you tonight. These things add a lot of value. We men don't seem to do them. This is point one. Point two, that I was talking to Dr. Mustafa earlier about a concept of overlooking the shortcomings. Men by nature, because they don't have feelings, they seem to detect every single thing that happens in the house. So a man...
What do you mean because they don't have feelings?
Men do not have feelings. Men... See, listen, we're a group of guys.
They might not be as emotional as women, but they do have feelings.
They don't have feelings. We pass by a car accident and the women look the other side. We ourselves looking to see the fatalities and the injuries and if there are limbs missing. This is part of our macho image. When we sit together, we never talk about our emotions, our feelings. We talk about cars, about stocks, about money, about games. That is why I don't have a buddy to talk to, because this is unmanly. So in the sense that feelings, not meaning that he's a robot, but it's not the feelings that you anticipate from a friend or from a buddy or from a homie. So if I feel sick, hey, you're sick, come on, get well. Tomorrow we have a basketball game. That's it. But women, oh, you're sick. Oh, that's very bad. What did you take? Did you see the doctor? Oh, you have to take care of yourself. I'm going to send you soup. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So men by nature, they don't have feelings in the sense that they do not express these feelings. Of course, they have lots of feelings inside. It's like a furnace. But they never express it. They have a poker face and they're not willing to show or express any of these feelings. So, should I go on to the point two? So, overlooking the short comings of people, in the sense that when we come home, the first thing we notice is not the clean house. It's that little dirt on the carpet. So, why is this dirt there? When we see our children, the first thing we notice is the shortcomings. The hair is fine, the clothes are fine, but the teeth, he didn't brush his teeth. Why? The food is excellent. She spent like 6 hours in the kitchen. It needs salt. And it's a little bit raw. You should have left it on the cooker for a little while. This destroys homes. Now, on the other hand, the women are the masters of nagging. So when you come home with 2 big bags of groceries, where is the broccoli? You always forget something. Every time I write you a list, you always forget one thing or 2 things. I'm never on your mind. You never think of me as a wife. You ignore us, and all what you care about are your friends and your work and your car. And subhanallah, I just paid half of my salary. And I'm just sweating and coming from work and 10 hours. And this is how you meet me? You're divorced. So it takes 2 to tango. Well, tango in Islamic nasheed, of course, not with a man and wife. Okay, right. So that people not quote me. Right. It is essential that you overlook things that are small. And this is how true men become leaders. it was reported that Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi was with his leaders of the armies, and they were discussing battle, and Salah had a very strong personality. And two of the slaves were fighting with each other, and one of them threw his slipper on his friend, the slave, and the slipper felt right next to Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi. Now imagine, with all the leaders of the army, and this happens. What did Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi do? He looked to the left and started talking to the leaders as if he did not see what had happened. This is a leader. And the man in the house, he has to overlook so many things that are bad, a bad word that his wife said, something that the boy did or the girl did, he has to overlook so that the boat keeps on sailing.
Right, Sheikh. Before we proceed, we have a Facebook comment that we just received now from Sister Fatima. We'll be reading it to you now. And Fatima Idris says, Assalamu alaikum. As a wife, you are trying your best to appreciate your husband, but he have never show his appreciation. Allah said, any woman that her husband was not pleased with, Allah is not pleased with her. What shall the woman now can do? Right. A lot of women, Dr. Khattab, fear such hadith and such meanings, like the meaning that Sister Fatima mentioned now. But what if she is doing her best? I mean, that's the question here.
In Islam, you just do your best, even if your best is not good enough. Because sometimes you're married to this brother or this sister, and they are very hard to please. You do everything in the book to please them. Cooking, cleaning, everything, and they are not pleased. What are you supposed to do? Just do your best and leave the rest for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What can you do?
Subhanallah. So indeed, but this is on the mind of many sisters, and maybe some husbands misuse such a hadith, don't they? Like that, there is a hadith that the meaning encompasses something like that the husband is either the heaven or the hell of his wife. So what about misusing, this misuse by men sometimes of these ahadith so as to terrorize their wives?
Okay. You will see in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when he talks about the relationship between a husband and wife, he usually speaks in the masculine form. Because those who study the Arabic language, they know that the masculine form refers to men and also women. So, for example, when the Prophet ﷺ says if a husband or the wife displeases her husband, or someone displeases his or her spouse, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be displeased with that person. But this also applies to the wife. If the husband displeases his wife and he does not fulfill his obligations to his wife, he doesn't try to make her happy, then the same thing applies.
Let me get Dr. Hassan here. Sheikh Hassan, your interpretation.
Well, I may beg to differ with...
That's why I said I want Sheikh Hassan here,
because
you could have differing views here.
The hadith you've mentioned is authentic. The Prophet saw a woman, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he asked her, who's this man? And she said, he's my husband. So the Prophet said, how are you with him? She said, I do my level best, and the rest is on Allah Azza wa Jal. He said, well, you have to be careful, because he's your hell and he's your paradise. Meaning, if you please him, you go to paradise, and if you displease him, you go to hell. Now, when it comes to the relationship of men and with women, definitely they both have responsibilities. However, the responsibilities of the women are far greater than the men, in the sense that they should seek the pleasure of the men, because they are their way to paradise. The Prophet said, ﷺ, if a woman prays her fard, her obligatory prayers, and fasts Ramadan, and preserves her chastity, and obeys her husband, she will enter paradise. The opposite cannot be said to a man, otherwise I would have been among those who will go to paradise. It is difficult. And when we say that, oh, all what women have to do are these 4 things, this is easy. No, it's not. It is one of the most difficult tasks on earth, especially if you have a rotten husband that smells, that has like a beer belly and doesn't have a lot of money, and he has bad manners. This is hell on earth. Yet, if you tolerate him, if you do please him for the sake of Allah, and this is the punchline. A lot of the women don't think that pleasing their husbands is part of their worship. And that is why when a little disagreement takes place, they take 180 degrees offensive attitude. While if they thought that pleasing this husband pleases Allah, and I'm doing it for the sake of Allah, not for his sake, wallah, their lives would drastically change to the positive. So for the sister who's asked this question, a lot of the sisters are with you in the same boat. What to do? You have a number of options. Option 1, seek divorce. And this is ridiculous, because if I have a disagreement with someone or with my spouse and I seek divorce, then we would not have marriages at all. Option 2, live with him in misery. And this is torture, but again, this is life. 60 years, 70 years, and then eternity, you go to paradise. Something that you cannot even comprehend or imagine. Option 3 is try to level with him, in the sense, you as a sister know that if you tell your child, eat your food, he will not eat it. He's stubborn, like his father. But if you put the food in front of him and tell him, listen, don't eat the food. I don't want to see you eat anything of it. He'll finish the whole plate. Your husband is a big baby. So if you come to him this way, and he is still adamant and inconsiderate, go from another way. Use a third strategy. Go through his stomach. Cook good food for him. If he doesn't like to eat, well, when after Isha, put on your makeup and wear your hair in the sexiest way, and put your creams and lotions and perfumes, and just sit there with him. Let him do the talking, or the action actually. If this doesn't work, then try to please his mother, his father, his siblings, and be kind to them, be generous to them, so that they would tell him, you have an angel, you have one of the best wives on earth.
And in all cases, the reward, if I understood you correctly, Sheikh, and you're telling sisters that are in such a position that the reward is from Allah. So wait for your the reward from Allah, not from that person, that slave of Allah, because I mean, after all, that would be the greatest reward.
If you can have both, this is the best achievement. So if Allah is pleased with you, and you manage to please your husband, and he's pleased with you, this is what we want.
Naturally. Dr. Khattab, on the same wavelength as we close out, because we only have 3 or 4 minutes left, but at the same time, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam has a hadith, more than one hadith, again with the meaning that, you know, the best of you is the best to his family, to ahli, and some interpret ahli as the wife. Maybe ahli is,
this is the hadith, also
right,
right. The women,
and astawsu bin nisa'i khayran. So there is also a lot of urge for men to try and please their wives.
Exactly. We are told in the authentic hadith that the Prophet ﷺ يعني كان في مهنة أهله فإذا جاءت الصلاة خرج للصلاة. So the Prophet ﷺ was in the service of his family. They were not serving him, and he had a lot of people in the house. He was married to several ladies, but still he had time, and of course he was busy with building the Islamic State, defending the city, and also receiving revelations and teaching people. He could have just divided the work in the house among his wives. You do the dishes, you do this, you do that, but the Prophet ﷺ still had some time to serve the family. He was patching his clothes and his shoes, he was taking care of his clothes, and so on and so forth. And according to this hadith, when the time to prayer came, the Prophet ﷺ went out to pray. And this is my advice to a lot of husbands. They go to the house and they expect everything to be done, the cooking, the cleaning, and everything. And a lot of wives, they feel that the husband doesn't care. He doesn't belong here. He just gets some services and leaves. So I always advise the brothers and sisters, wallahi, it's magical if on your day off you cook something to the family. Even if you have to boil some eggs, if you are the worst cook in the world, just do something, cook something. Tell your wife, please honey, sit here like a princess and let me cook something for you. Even if they hate your cooking skills, but wallahi they will appreciate it. The fact that you took the time, that you care about them, and you care about this family and you try to help your wife. They appreciate this a lot.
Right. Final comments as we close out, Sheikh.
It is great for you to work when, or take some time to work at the house. So this is addressed to the men. Do something in the house. Try your level best to cook, to clean, to do the dishes, to iron your thobes every now and then, every blue moon. Huh? This is for the men. But also for the women, we say the same thing. Now, if you let your husband free from working at the home and not doing anything, do you know what the reward of this? Jibreel came to Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her. He came to the Prophet and he said, read salam to Khadija and tell her that Allah Azza wa Jal is giving her the glad tiding of a house in Jannah, which is a hollow pearl. It's a big house made of pearl, a big pearl, that does not have any shouting in it, and it does not have any tiresome. So you would not work or be tired. Scholars say that the reward is equivalent to what the actions had been, because she treated the Prophet ﷺ as a king. So she did not let any of her children shout or scream in the house. She did not nag him, never. Then the reward is equivalent to that. And because she did not make him work and do anything in the house, she would not become tired or do anything in paradise, which is a message to the wives. Relieve your husband. Don't nag him. The man is working to provide for you, to put the bread on the table, so he works like 10 hours, 12 hours, and he comes. He needs a comfort zone. He needs a safe haven where he comes and finds a smiling wife giving him love. And then when he's rested, she may talk to him about his problems, but not to face him head on with her problems and nagging and shouting and displeasing views as soon as he walks through the door.
Right, Sheikh, barakallahu feekum. That's all the time we have, dear brothers and sisters. We had more Facebook comments, but sorry we couldn't get them in. But we will be continuing this topic, inshallah, in the upcoming episodes. So please do keep your comments flowing. On behalf of you, dear brothers and sisters, we thank very much Sheikh Asim Luqman Al-Hakim, renowned Islamic Da'iyah. Jazakumullahu khairan, Sheikh Asim, it's been a pleasure. And thank you very much, Dr. Mustafa Khattab, Imam at Alberta, Canada, and also Professor at Al-Azhar University, Lecturer of Islamic Studies. Jazakumullahu khairan, Dr. Khattab, wishing to see you again. And dear brothers and sisters, we'll be putting our addresses on the screen now, the Facebook address and also the email address. Again, you are the ones that make this program possible. Thank you for watching us, and please do join us again same time next week, inshallah. Until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Never alone, you are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. So now, as you long for your past, prepare for your future, but knowing nothing's gonna last. You see, this life is but a road, a straight and narrow path to our final abode. So travel well, O Muslim, and paradise will be your home. And always remember that you are never alone.